Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Glendale Parks, Recreation, Community Services Commission regularly scheduled meeting. Monday, August 15th, 2016. Roll call, please.
Commissioners Asatrian is absent. Fuad?
Here.
Kalfayan?
Here.
Michaels?
Here.
President Wu.
Present.
The agenda for the August 15, 2016 regular meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall on or before Friday, August 12, 2016. Item 2, introductions and presentations. At A, introduction of Onig Bulanikian, Interim Director of Community Services and Parks.
Well, it gives me much pleasure to introduce you to our Interim Director of Community Services and Parks, Mr. Onig Bulanikian. Did I butcher your name? Help me out here. Bulanikian. Bulanikian. My apologies. But aside from me not being able to pronounce his last name, I have known Oni for quite some time now, and it's always a pleasure to see him on the dais, and he's been a great, another person to always look forward to seeing at the commission meeting, and it gives me great pleasure to now introduce him as our interim director. Just to kind of give you a quick overview of Onig, his involvement with the city. I know he's been with the city for quite some time, so in the interest of time, I'm going to just kind of highlight his background. He has a bachelor's degrees in sociology with an emphasis in criminology and corrections from Cal State Northridge, fellow Matador, and has been with the city of Glendale for 13 years, since August of 2003, so exactly to the date. He's had multiple positions throughout the city, and of which one that's quite interesting is that he started at the age of 15 as a locker attendant, promoted to lifeguard, then patrol guard, then pool manager, and finally become a full-time aquatic facility manager in 2000. So, yeah, he's been through the ranks and he's done it all. So I think we're in good hands. He's currently on the board of Glendale Healthy Kids, and Onig is married and has 3 children, 1 9-year-old and 2 6-year-old twins. So I do see some of your postings. So you have great family, beautiful family. So welcome aboard, and we're pleased to have you. So would you like to say a few words, Onig?
Sure. Thank you, President Wu, members of the commission. Like you mentioned, I've been with the city for 13 years. Started at Pacific Community Center as a community services coordinator. I was given the opportunity to supervise the facility and work my way up to community services manager in charge of the 4 community centers. And with some restructuring and some retirements, I was given the opportunity to manage the entire recreation section. I look forward to the interim position. I want to thank city staff, especially community services and park staff, for making this a smooth transition for me. So I really appreciate your support.
Well, thank you. Next item, please.
Item 2B, recognition of cruise night sponsors.
Okay, President Wu, members of the commission, as you know, the 23rd annual cruise night was held July 16th on Brand Boulevard. This year was the 4th year that the event was fully sponsored by corporate and community sponsorships. We had a total of $58,840 that was raised, and which was the most from the last 3 years. So we're really excited that we raised over $58,000. So on behalf of the Community Service and Parks Department, I would like to recognize our following sponsors and provide them with a certificate of appreciation. And I know in the audience we have a representative from Glendale Police Officers Association, Detective Ross, Rafi Suwalian from John Hart Real Estate. We have our very own Coco Panosian representing Glendale Management Association. And we have one more that I don't recognize. My apologies. If you guys can come up and we can give you certificates. These certificates, basically, they're $1,500 sponsors. We had 2 major sponsors, Downtown Glendale Association for $15,000 and Economic Development for $5,000. The next level are $1,500 sponsorships, and the 4 participants here gave $1,500. We had more, but we only have 4 that showed up today at the meeting. So we thank you, and hopefully you guys will sponsor the 24th annual cruise night, which will be held July 15th of 2017. Thank you.
So we have 4 sponsors here. The first one is Anna Martinez with Pacific BMW. Coco Panosian with Glendale Management. Rafi Sualian with Rafi Sualian Real Estate. Sorry. I feel like Alex. Glendale Police Officers Association, Detective Ross. And the ones who couldn't be here today is LA Injury, Carousel Restaurant, AMO Marketing, Mobile Mini Wash, Dove Executive Auto Group, Acura of Glendale, Porto's Bakery, Forest Lawn, Glendale Water and Power, Window Tints, LA Federal Credit Union, In and Out, and Disney Worldwide Services. And we know, and thank you very much, we're very grateful to you guys. We know that without your help, this event may not be possible. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next item, please.
Next, we have item 3, upcoming council agenda items.
Okay, President Wu, members of the commission, we have a few items coming up the next couple weeks that we're taking to City Council. On August 30th, we're taking a report regarding LA County Parks funding measure. This is a resolution asking the City Council and supporting the safe, clean neighborhood parks, open space, beaches, rivers protection, and water conservation measure. Mr. Sturtevant will give us a report in a few minutes on regarding this measure. Also on August 30th, a report regarding the 2016 Homeless Continuum of Care funding application. We're going to ask authorization for city manager to submit an application to HUD for the Continuum of Care program that we provide to our homeless service organizations. And then on September 13th, motion approving a grant and license agreement with Shane's Inspiration, all-inclusive playground at Maple Park, and authorizing the city manager to designate to execute this agreement. So there's 3 items coming within the next couple weeks.
Thank you for that. Next item, please.
Item 4 is commission staff comments.
Anything from the commissioners? All right.
President Wu, members of the commission, if I may, as I do every month, I'd love to go over some of the events happening between now and the next commission meeting that are taking place in our facilities. Having some technical difficulties here. Okay. First, I wanted to remind the public and the commission that our water play features, which are very popular at Pacific and Cerritos Park, are still available through September 16th. They are on daily from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. And then from September 17th through October 16th, they will be available Saturday and Sunday only from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. On August 19th and September 2nd and 16th, we have Tea Night Out at Pacific Community Center from 5:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. August 20th, we have a Wilderness Workday entitled Game of Cones from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Dukmajan Wilderness Park. On August 20th, we have a 3-on-3 adult basketball tournament at Pacific Community Center from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. On August 20th, Street Food Cinema is offering the movie Clue at Central Park. On August 21st and 28th, Casa Adobe de San Rafael is having an open house at 1 p.m. Through 3 p.m. On August 21st through November 6th, Sundays only, there will be a new exhibit called The Faces of Women's Suffrage in 1916 at the Doctor's House Museum at Brand Park from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. August 27th, Street Food Cinema is showing La Bamba at Central Park. September 3rd, we're having a campfire program featuring mosquitoes at Dugmajan Wilderness Park from 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. September 3rd, Street Food Cinema is offering The Devil Wears Prada at Central Park. On September 8th, Glendale Beautiful is having their 66th annual fall dinner at 5:30 p.m. at the Casa Adobe de San Rafael courtyard. On September 9th, there's a Parents' Night Out taking place at Pacific Community Center from 6 p.m. to 12 a.m. On September 10th, we have a Riverwalk workday at Glendale Narrows Riverwalk from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. September 10th, Street Food Cinema is offering Chicago at Central Park. And on September 14th, as part of Glendale Tech Week, the Verdugo Job Center is having a tech job fair from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. On September 17th, we're offering a Wilderness Workday at Dugmajan Wilderness Park from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. September 17th, Glendale Arts is having an Open Arts and Music Festival at Central Park from 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. September 18th, Martial Arts of the Pacific Rim will be offered at the Shosean Whispering Pine Tea House at Brand Park from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And September 19th, we're back here for another Parks Commission meeting at 2:30. And we have a very busy calendar.
Sure do.
President Wu, members of the commission, I have one announcement.
Yes, sir.
On June 14th, the City Council adopted a 2.5% credit card transaction fee to the citywide fee schedule. Customers that use a credit card transaction to pay for services will be also charged an additional 2.5%. It was part of the citywide budget study, and Council adopted it with the budget 16-17 budget study session on June 14th. So I want to bring that to the Commission's attention.
They'll be charging on the which accounts? On the
They will be charging the consumer. So if someone
as far as our guests, like park and recreation.
yes. So if they have a $100 bill that they're going to pay with a credit card, they will be charged $2.50.
That'll be citywide, correct?
Citywide for everything, yes.
So do we have a large percentage of residents that use that payment method?
It can be 50-50, depending on the programs. For a $100 or $150 item, they usually pay with cash or check. But if we have a parent that wants to book a facility or a 9-week of summer day camp program, then they usually pay by credit card. But what we'll do is we'll notify all of our users that there'll be a 2.5% charge to the credit card, an additional charge before we charge the card. So we'll give them the option to pay with credit card, cash, or check.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next item, please.
Item 5 is oral communications. I don't have any cards. Item 6, consent items. At A is approval of the minutes of the Commission regular meeting held on June 20th, 2016.
Have a motion?
I'll move the item.
I'll second it.
Commissioner Sasatrian is absent. Fuad?
Yes.
Kalfayan?
Yes.
Michaels?
Yes.
President Wu.
Yes.
Item 7, action items. At A is a motion to recommend support by the City Council of the LA County Parks Bond Measure.
Good afternoon, President Wu, members of the Commission. I have a quick PowerPoint presentation regarding this item. So in 1992 and again in 1996, the LA County voters approved Proposition A, which was called Safe Neighborhoods Park Tax, creating the Regional Parks and Open Space District, along with 25 years of local grant funding to protect and maintain neighborhood parks, outdoor spaces, and water resources and beaches. The 1992 proposition raised about $540 million, and it expired in 2015. And the 1996 Proposition A will have raised about $319 million, and it's due to expire in 2019. Glendale has benefited from both of these tax measures. We've been the recipient of about $8.9 million in grant funds for park projects such as $2.5 million for the Glendale Sports Complex, $2 million for the Duke-Majan Wilderness Park, $2.8 million for the Adult Recreation Center, and some other smaller projects like Stengel Field, Harvard Mini, and a few others, including, again, the seismic upgrade of the barn. Along with the grant funds, the Glendale has also been a recipient of and will continue to receive about $4.4 million to date for maintenance and servicing. So $3.5 million we've already received to date, and we have about $890,000 remaining in the maintenance and servicing account that can come to Glendale. And what we do is annually we evaluate our expenses, and we request a drawdown from the county of additional funds if we need to pay for maintenance and servicing. So these would be going towards any of those projects that we've funded through Prop A, but Glendale has chosen to use those funds for the sports complex. In March 2015, LA County supervisors requested a countywide comprehensive parks and recreation needs assessment. With the Prop A from 92 and 96 expiring, the supervisors wanted a study to show what the park needs is. There was really no inventory of all the parks in the county, and so this study was requested to be able to evaluate how many parks do we have, how many acres of parkland, and where are the needs. The county asked the cities and unincorporated communities to participate in the study, and the county was broken down into 189 study areas. It was to help document existing facilities and evaluate park need. About 86 cities participated with 178 community meetings were held between December 2015 and February 2016. And Glendale participated and was broken into 2 study areas. Some of you may remember we did report, and I believe some of you actually attended these community meetings. North Glendale, Glendale's community meeting was January 30th. Southern Glendale, we had a community meeting on February 6th. The final report from Glendale was submitted to the county on February 29th. The needs assessment included an inventory of all the existing parks in the county and an evaluation of their condition, an analysis of the park need within each study area in the county, and a prioritized list of park projects and associated estimated costs for each of those for the various study areas. So each city that participated conducted their own study, and then we all submitted our results to the county. The county then compiled all of that into one report, which was then presented to the LA County Board of Supervisors on May 3rd. I'll go back and kind of summarize. So the study that was conducted, what LA County reported was that there was 3.3 acres per 1,000 residents in the county of parkland, and the standard for LA County and their general plan is 4 acres. 49% of the county population lives within a half a mile of a park. 80% of the parks have high park pressure, meaning that the parks around that area offer less than 3.3 acres of parkland per 1,000 residents. 57.8% of park amenities are in fair or poor condition. 79.7% of park infrastructure are in fair or poor condition. And 52.6% of the population lives in high or very high park need area. So these were kind of the results of the study when the county compiled all of the information that was submitted. And based on all the projects that were submitted, there seems to be about $21.5 billion worth of projects, whether it's new projects or deferred maintenance, that the various cities and the unincorporated communities have submitted to the county that we would like funding on. So based on all this, the Board of Supervisors voted on July 5th to place a funding measure on the November 8th ballot, and it's going to be called the Safe, Clean Neighborhood Parks, Open Space, Beaches, Rivers Protection, and Water Conservation Measure. It's a mouthful, so we call it the Parks Funding Measure. Basically, this measure, which would be on the ballot on November 8th, and it will go out to the voters, would commence, if approved, would commence in fiscal year 17-18, and it would be a 1.5 cent tax per square foot on developed property per year. So an average homeowner with a 1,500 square foot house will pay about $22.50 annually, and that funding will come back. The county will collect those funds from the average taxpayer and will then distribute it to cities and nonprofits. And the measure is anticipated to accumulate about $94,500,000 per year countywide. The expenditure plan that the county has proposed, as you can tell, it breaks it down into various grant categories. The first category, which is called Community-Based Park Investment Program, it's 35% of that $94 million would be a direct grant to cities based on a formula, based on the population for each city. So there's 5 different grant categories, and then maintenance and servicing funds, and an administration component. And so this shows that the first 2 grant categories would be a direct grant to cities based on a formula. The third one, which is maintenance and servicing, again, would be directly going to the cities. And so, for example, Glendale would be a recipient of the first 3, so the first 2 grant categories, and then maintenance and servicing funds. And then the other 3 categories would be a competitive grant. So Glendale can also apply for those grants, but it's not guaranteed. It would be through a competitive grant. So how will Glendale benefit from this potential measure? Well, the measure is going to be on the ballot if it passes. Glendale is anticipated to receive about $790,000 per year. We'll receive about $637,000 from the first grant category, which will be for both our north and south study areas. If you recall, I said Glendale was divided into 2 study areas. We're also anticipating to receive about $153,000 for maintenance and servicing. The portion that Glendale will get, the South Glendale area, is considered a very high need area. Based on the study, we came to the conclusion that South Glendale is a very high need area, and therefore we would get additional funding from that grant category, but the county hasn't really released that formula, so we don't know exactly how much. So on top of the $790,000, we would get an additional amount based on whatever that formula will end up being. Like I mentioned earlier, we could also apply for grants from the other categories, so we could easily get additional funding if we're successful at that. Staff at this time is requesting for the Commission to recommend that the City Council adopt a resolution in support of this park measure. And what that would mean is the City can then let the county know that Glendale is in support of this tax measure, and so the county can use our logo and our name on documents, on their website, on social media, just to show that Glendale is in support of the measure. So when it goes out to vote in November, the residents will then know that the city's in support. So at this time, what's before you is a request to recommend that the City Council adopt a resolution, and this will be presented to City Council on August 30th, as mentioned by Onig. Thank you. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Sir, does it have an expiry date?
This measure does not have an expiration date. Originally, it was the original measure as proposed to the Board of Supervisors was 35 years, but then they removed it, so it's indefinite at this time.
And it requires 2/3 to pass.
Correct.
Is there an estimate of what the revenue from Glendale would be for the tax raised to the county?
Yes, I do have that number. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I do have the number. But I don't have it with me, but I'd be happy to provide Commissioner Michaels.
Thank you.
Anything else? So I know that it's estimated that it's going to raise about $790,000 to.
Glendale is, yes, President Wu, Glendale, we've been told that Glendale would receive $790,000 per year from the first grant category and the maintenance and servicing. So $637,000 would have to go towards park projects. $153,000 of that $790 would be for maintenance and servicing, so we could use it for that purpose instead of constructing a new park or renovating an existing amenity that might need to be improved.
So that could be used for a variety of, it's not basically earmarked for anything particular. Basically, it could be anything from constructing new parks. Could it be also used for land acquisition?
Yes. The $637,000, it could go towards land acquisition. There was a list of projects that Glendale submitted as priority project that's part of this study. And we're not limited to spending it on those projects that were submitted, but similar projects. But yes, land acquisition could be one of those categories.
Okay.
What did we submit? Submissions for land acquisition.
I'm sorry, would you mind turning on your mic, please?
Yeah, did we submit land acquisition projects?
The original list did not include land acquisition projects, but that doesn't mean that it wouldn't qualify for that purpose.
Okay.
So saying that the south study area has a very high need, do we have any potential targets that we are looking into potentially acquiring if we were to be granted the roughly $800,000?
I'm sorry, President, well, can you repeat?
So do we have any land that we're looking into acquiring in the south study area at the present time if we were to get the measure passed and the bond approved?
President Wu, at this time, I don't think there is a specific parcel of land that's been identified. So there isn't one that's specifically identified at this time. But, going back to Commissioner Fuad's question, I take that back. For the south study area, we did submit land acquisition. So the north study area, we didn't, because at the time, the study showed that the north has sufficient parkland, but the south didn't. So we did submit land acquisition as part of the projects for the south study area. But yes, there isn't one specific land identified at this time.
And you had said that the $790,000 is based on the formula, but we could also be getting additional funds if we qualify for the additional categories 3 to 5. So how much do you think that's a possibility that we could get from the categories 3 to 5? Or do you have any idea?
Honestly, I don't at this time. One of the, as you can tell, the other grant categories, the details of what that competitive grant will look like, the requirements, we don't know at this time. So it just depends on, what those requirements are and which projects we're able to identify that would best meet the grant, the grants that are released. So at this time, we don't really know how much additional funds we would be able to get from the other grant categories that are available. But majority of, as you can tell from the grant categories, 35% of the total that the county's anticipating to accumulate is the first grant category, which we're already going to be a direct recipient of the funds. So, but how much we would be entitled to or be able to compete for from the other grant categories, we don't know at this time.
So last question is, how will we get the word out to our residents of this bond and what our position is and what benefits the city of Glendale as well as the residents will be deriving from the bond? Do we have any idea as to how we're going to be promoting?
Well, Once City Council approves a resolution in support of the bond, we would definitely put it out on social media. There would probably be some sort of a press release issued in support of the ballot measure. The county's doing its own outreach, but we would put it on our social media. We would put it in our newsletter. We would put it on our website. Obviously, with the city benefiting, we would make sure to let our residents know that we would be getting annually $790,000 that would go towards park projects. And we know that at least in the south, and in addition for the south study area, but we know that we are park deficient and that there's always a need to for new parkland, but also being able to maintain and upgrading our existing amenities within our parks. So there's always a high need, and this would definitely, benefit the residents. So we would put the word out through social media, press release, and our newsletters.
Okay, great, yeah. Could definitely see the benefits. Just making sure that we have all the residents understanding that the money's going to be spent for parks and open space, and so they don't think that it's going to be just another tax hike, and they don't really reap the benefits. So that does it for me. Any other further comments or questions?
Do you happen to know if the report on the county website identifies the project priorities that came out of the different study groups?
The detailed report should identify the projects that were identified by each study area, correct?
Thank you.
And I believe I had the website on here on one of these slides where you can go to look for the actual full report. So the LACountyParksNeeds.org, that website will, you'll be able to find the final report that was compiled by the county and presented to the Board of Supervisors.
Thank you.
You mentioned, I don't know where north and south, where the divide was, but you said North Glendale under this 3.3 acre formula, North Glendale was found to have adequate parks?
Parkland, mm-hmm. Yes.
And what was the division, like 134?
134, yes, north of the 134 and then south of the 134. I actually have a slide that shows that, just in case you asked, but that's how north and south were divided for Glendale.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm ready to move the motion. Any other questions?
Seeing none, we have a motion.
I have the motion that the Glendale City Council adopt a resolution in support of the safe, clean neighborhood, parks, open space, beaches, river protection, and water conservation measures.
Okay, and I have a second from Commissioner Michaels. Commissioners Asatrian is absent. Fuad?
Yes.
Afayan?
Yes.
Michaels?
Yes.
President Wu?
Yes. Next item, please.
Next item is 8, reports, information only at 8 Duke-Major Nature Education Center, RFP.
President Wu, members of the Commission, I'm Mark Sturdivant, Senior Administrative Analyst for Community Services and Parks, and I'm here this afternoon to bring you up to date on the Duke-Major Nature Education Center project. As you know, Duke-Major Wilderness Park is the city's 709-acre natural park at the foot of the San Gabriel Mountains in the northernmost part of the city. It's unlike any other park that we have in that it has no baseball diamonds, no basketball courts, no soccer fields. It's the city's only completely passive park, and it features about 7 miles of recreational trails, a picnic area, an amphitheater for outdoor programs, a vineyard, a ranch house that serves as the headquarters of our Trails and Open Space program, and the historic Le Mesnager barn, built roughly 100 years ago. The Duke-Major Park property was acquired in 1898 by Georges Le Mesnager, a French immigrant, vineyard owner, and prominent Los Angeles businessman. In 1914, at the age of 65, Le Mesnager returned to France to fight in World War I. And while George was away, his son Louis constructed the stone barn between 1914 and 1918. The barn was used as a stable for the storage of equipment and for the storage of grapes that were grown on the property before they were shipped to the Le Mesnier's winery in Los Angeles. In December of 1933, a massive fire swept through the area, gutting the barn. The barn was then rebuilt with the arched roof that we see today, and residential quarters were placed in the upper floor of the barn. The Le Mesnier family moved into the barn in 1937 and lived there until 1960. In 1968, the property was sold to a developer who intended to construct over 250 homes on the property. The city obtained an option on the property in 1986, completed a park concept plan in 1987, and purchased the site in 1989. The site was renamed Deukmejian Wilderness Park in 1989, and in 1991, the master plan for the park recommended that the barn be restored and used as an interpretive center. And we have slowly but surely been moving in that direction for the last 25 years. Due to the scope and the complexity of the project, the park and the barn are being preserved, restored, and developed in several phases. Phase 1 of the project included an historical assessment of the barn and the nearby shed, structural stabilization of the barn with a new roof and external bracing, structural analysis of the existing mortar and stone, removal of the interior wooden walls and the second-story flooring, and removal of soil covering the basement floor. This phase was completed in 1993. Phase 2 involved the construction of trails in the park, including the Dunsmore Canyon Trail, the Le Mesnier Loop Trail, and the Rim of the Valley Trail, and it was completed in 1995. And Phase 3 involved the development of the 12-acre lower portion of the park, now known as the Park Center. This included the addition of picnic facilities, restrooms, an amphitheater, small demonstration vineyard, parking, and security lighting. And Phase 3 was completed in 2004. So due to funding considerations, Phase 4 has actually been divided into 3 parts. Part 1 involved the permanent seismic stabilization of the barn, roof reconstruction, and demolition and removal of the remaining floor. This phase also involved plumbing and safety improvements, including new water and sewer lines and an automatic fire sprinkler system. And this was completed in 2011. Phase 4, Part 2, is the phase that we are about to enter. We refer to it as the mechanical phase. It involves the installation of the HVAC system, plumbing, and electrical work. It also includes a new concrete floor and a glass storefront entry in the south side of the building to match the existing door on the west side. And a contract for this phase has been signed, and work is scheduled to begin early next month. Phase 4, Part 3, is the final step and will result in the adaptive reuse of the historic barn as an interpretive center and a community room. The RFP is for the design portion of Part 3. It involves the design for all of the displays and exhibits and audiovisual equipment, new restrooms, minor landscape design, some exterior interpretive signage design, and conceptual design for extending the south patio and for overflow parking. And once this design work is complete, we will be ready for construction that will lead to the opening of the barn to the public. While the principal purpose of the barn will be for use as a nature center, serving as a portal into the park and providing valuable information on the human and natural history of the area, the displays, exhibits, and other furnishings will be designed to be easily moved so that the building can also be used as a community room, lecture hall, or a reception area for events such as weddings, art exhibitions, and other gatherings. There will be panels, displays, and other exhibits. These may include passive exhibits such as historic and contemporary photographs, informative texts, dioramas, and active exhibits such as hands-on displays and displays which allow visitors to participate with their senses. The use of audio-visual media will be explored as well. Topics for interpretation include, or may include, wildlife, vegetation, fire ecology, topography, geology, hydrology, astronomy, climate, and human impacts on the environment. And these photos give you some idea of what a facility like the barn would look like if configured for a wedding, a reception, or other community event. This is the budget for Phase 4. Part 1, the seismic upgrade, has been completed. Part 2, the mechanical phase, will begin in the next couple weeks. And Part 3 is for the design and construction that will complete the project. And here is the overall budget history for both the park and the barn. You have a copy of these numbers listed as Exhibit 1 in your report. And now, if you have any questions, I or one of my colleagues will be happy to answer.
Thank you.
In the report, you mention a strong outreach effort. How are you going to evaluate that outreach effort and its effectiveness?
Well, I don't know that we have any target numbers in mind at this point, but obviously you saw that we are contemplating a serious outreach effort, both through the use of the social media, the city's website, GTV6, our department newsletter, our Trails and Open Space database, and so forth. We also know, and Oni could perhaps shed a little more light on this, that GUSD has expressed a real interest in the barn once it becomes a nature education center and has already reached out to us to say, we want to start bringing our kids to your park and your nature center when it's completed.
Yes, President Wu, members of the commission, we'll be working with Glendale Unified to have a nature education curriculum, mini curriculum. It's part of the elementary schools, citywide, not only in North Glendale. So we'll be working with Glendale Unified. We met with the after-school program last week, the ELP directors, and they're interested in bringing their kids up to Duke Magian, and for us to provide nature education to them, let it be hiking, campfires, and so on. So we're going to start working on nature education not only when the barn is built, even before. So hopefully within the next couple months we'll be working with the middle schoolers. But eventually when the barn is built, we will have some sort of education in the curriculum for GUSD.
My question was more towards, with programs, you can track attendance more easily with who attends the programs. But Duke Magian is designed as a passive park. I'd encourage you to think of some metric or system to track that attendance at the park in general to better identify the effect of the outreach.
That's an interesting observation. I don't know that we have a mechanism by which we can track park attendance. We don't track park attendance at any of our parks that I know of. But it's an interesting idea. What we have been doing is tracking the attendance of our programs. For example, Friday night for our astronomy program, we had 50 people in attendance. So we keep track of that. We use it in our key performance indicators that we turn in quarterly to the city manager's office. But if you think there is value in making an effort to not only track the number of individuals who participate in our programs, but also the numbers who just simply come and use the park, we could take a look at trying to come up with some kind of method of doing that.
One thing that we've done in the past in LA, when I used to work for LA, is car counters. Maybe we could put a car counter and see how many vehicles enter the park, hoping that at least 90-95% of the vehicles will park and get outside and enjoy the facilities. And that's one item that we can work on.
Looking at this agenda where Pacific Park is discussed, Pacific Park has significantly more programming. So to track attendance based on programming, Pacific Park can justify and appears to be a very well-used park. When Duke Magian is designed as passive recreation, I would expect more use from non-program activities, And that's just what I'm looking to try and see if we can capture some of that information.
I know that it's our long-term goal in the department to bring on someone ultimately who will oversee the operation of the barn, someone with kind of a naturalist background and that kind of thing. I also anticipate a very healthy docent program emanating out of the Glendale Parks and Open Space Foundation. And I'm confident, given the amount of use the park gets, and I know you've been a visitor to the park and you were turned away on Friday because we were already full at 50 participants. Our park programs are extremely popular. By the way, you're always welcome, even if we are full.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
How large is the barn? Well, I saw some chairs and so on sitting there. The capacity,
Correct.
How many square footage?
It's 3,000 square feet.
And if we have a function like we have a concert or so, how many people can we sit? What's the capacity on that?
I don't know what the fire code says on that. I believe that particular drawing was set up with 80 seats.
So it's 3,000 square foot.
It is 3,000 square feet.
Thank you.
What's the parking capacity?
The parking capacity. We have 22 spaces in the paved lot and 43 spaces, I believe, in our overflow lot. And one of the design elements that we're going to look at as part of this RFP is for additional overflow parking. We do not have funding in place for that, so we're not going to go build it. But we thought as long as we were bringing in design consultants to look at these other elements of the barn, we would ask them to look at a particular area that we have in mind where overflow parking could be added.
So would that be something that we're looking into addressing in the future when we get some additional funding? Because I figure if we're going to be having a 3,000 square foot facility and we're only limited to 22 paid parking spaces.
Well, right now it's not just 22. We have an overflow lot that is capable of parking another 40 or so cars. So we do have
paved, though, right?
I beg your pardon?
Not paved.
It is not paved,
okay.
But it is used. It is used every weekend. You will see cars filling that lot as well. We have, on occasion, for very large events like the Crescenta Valley Weekly's yearly event there, also parked cars on one side of the road in an overflow capacity, and we were able to do that safely. But we think, yes, ultimately, overflow parking is going to be something that we're going to need to take a look at.
Is the current path egress from the park able to handle in case of an emergency if something was to happen, God forbid?
Yes.
But will that the roads be able to handle if we have a certain surge of all these vehicles trying to exit? Or
as long as there are not cars parked on both sides of the street, access is available.
And we have staff to make sure that to monitor that doesn't happen.
For events of this type, yes, we would.
Is the park used heavily?
Park is used very heavily. I invite you to come out sometime as my guest on a weekend. Come out on a Saturday morning and see how many hikers and mountain bikers and dog walkers and picnickers and photographers are out in the park. It gets very heavy use, especially on the weekends.
During the week, it's kind of dead? Or?
It gets used in the mornings and in the evenings, not so much in the midday, and not so much in the midday in days like today where it's hot.
I have one quick question. Do we have any revenue that's deriving from Duke Majan Park as is? And then once we get all these construction finalized, do we anticipate any increase in the revenue?
We do have some revenue from the park now. I'm going to let Onig address that because that falls under his area. It's revenues that we receive from picnic shelter rentals and from wedding rentals and from other event rentals. And yes, when the barn is finished, that is an important component. That is why we are designing it in the way that we are, so that all of those displays and exhibits can be either flown to the ceiling or pushed to the side and open that space up for rental use. Oni?
Yes, President Wu, members of the Commission, we rent out the picnic area, and there's a little grass area for weddings, baptisms, Crescenta Valley Weekly, they're going to be using the facility in the next month or so, and filming. We have a lot of film permits up there. So we do make some money, between $5,000 to $10,000 a year in revenue just from the Duke. So when the barn is open up, we'll open up for concerts, weddings, and special events. And we'll incorporate in our citywide fee schedule, of course.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Next on the agenda is 8B, Pacific Community Center Annual Report.
Good afternoon, President Wu, members of the Commission, City staff. My name is Sabah Garabidian, Senior Community Services Supervisor for the Community Services and Parks Department, and I'm going to be presenting to you Pacific Community Center. So Pacific Community Center, if you're not aware, is a joint use facility between Glendale Unified School District, the Library, Arts, and Culture Department, and the Community Services and Parks Department. Its hours of operation are Monday through Thursday from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Friday and Saturday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Sundays the facility is technically closed. We are also available outside of these hours for rentals. So on Sundays, technically the facility is closed, but our soccer field is rented from 7:30 in the morning until 10 o'clock at night. So there is at least one staff person there on a Sunday. The services we offer out of Pacific Community Center are detailed event planning. So when a customer would like to rent the facility, no matter how small or large their event is, facility staff will work with them and try to figure out what the best layout is for their event, what works and what doesn't work for the facility, given the city's rules and regulations, insurance, and everything along those lines. We give advice on how the layout should be, logistics, what should be brought in when, if they're using the fire lane to bring in additional equipment, not to bring in additional equipment when it's open to the public and there's people walking at that point, that kind of stuff. Special event planning, the facility has 3 major special events that take place, and we assist with the planning. We offer party on the go through the facility and the Glendale Rocks climbing wall. The facility has 5 indoor meeting rooms, the gymnasium, a computer lab, the recreation room, and a kitchenette. There are some pictures. You can see the Sycamore room and the Oak room. The Oak room is also home to our senior nutritional meals program, which we offer 3 times a week through the department's senior nutritional meals program. You can see the outdoor terrace adjacent to Oak room, so it's really nice when somebody would like to reserve the facility for a birthday party, for example. They reserve the Oak room, they have their food or whatever in the Oak room, and then the kids could go and hang out in the terrace or vice versa. Here you see the recreation room and the gymnasium in its 2 different formats. The one on the right is how you would normally see the facility if you walk in on a daily basis, and the one on the bottom left is with that partition wall open. With that partition wall open, we could accommodate up to 650 guests for a special event. Some more pictures of the facility's rooms. You can see the art science room, the Redbud room, and the conference room. That art science room is also our hub for our summer day camps program, which is highly popular, and we sell out every year. Parents will check in and out from that room. Additionally, we also use that room as a hub for our Parents Night Out program. Again, same concept, parents will check in and out of that arts and science room. In terms of outdoor facilities, we have the multipurpose field, 2 picnic shelters, the baseball field, the multi-use court, a playground with splash pad, and the terrace. Here's a picture of our picnic shelters, our Little League baseball field, and our multi-purpose field, primarily used for soccer, even though we accommodate flag football once a year for our One Glendale after-school youth sports program. As I mentioned earlier, we organize a bunch of special events from the facility, which include the Spring Extravaganza, the Cesar Chavez Annual Commemoration Event, National Night Out, National Charities League Annual Rummage Sale, the Glendale Unified School District Glendale Education Foundation State of the Schools Breakfast, and this year we're bringing back Glendale Health Festival to the facility. There's some pictures of the special events, some setups. Some of the center-based programming I wanted to touch base on is Tot Time, which is held twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's for children ages 0 to 5 years old. It's an opportunity for parents to come and bring their kids to an indoor facility, air-conditioned, and the kids could get to interact with each other, socialize, play with some of the toys that we put out while the parents have some adult conversation time with some other parents that are there. Drop-in programs include basketball, volleyball, badminton, pickleball, soccer, senior fitness, and line dancing. Drop-in recreation in the rec room includes billiards, table tennis, and foosball. We offer some lifelong learning classes at the facility as well, which include basketball, an art class, gymnastics, and karate, as well as an Aikido class for adults. And just recently, we added a youth hip-hop dance class and an adult kickboxing class as well. Like I said, the facility is home to Cool Days summer camp, as well as a seasonal camp, kinder camp, traveling teens camp. And what I mean by seasonal is when Glendale Unified School District is on break for Thanksgiving or winter or spring break, Cool Days camp will come in and provide that need for childcare when the parents still have to go to work, even though the kids are off for a period of time. As I mentioned, Parrots Night Out and our popular Teen Night Out program also takes place out of that facility as well. Here's some pictures of the contract classes and a mobile recreation package. We collaborate with the following organizations: Glendale Adventist Hospital, CHLA Kids. They provide parenting workshops and a healthy cooking class twice a week, usually around Tot Time. Glendale Community College offers lifelong learning classes for seniors, a senior improv class, and we're soon going to be starting an ESL class taking place Monday through Thursday from 9 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. And the facility is also home to our Glendale Police Department STAR Students Training as Role Models program. That concludes my presentation. If anybody has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Questions, comments, commissioners?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, please.
8C, Youth and Family Services Annual Report.
Good afternoon, President Wu, members of the Commission, and department staff. My name is Norma Maurer, Community Services Supervisor at Pacific Community Center. With me is Jackie Balaton, the Recreation Program Specialist. She works directly with the youth and families in our programs. We are here to present the Youth and Family Services Annual Report for 2015-16. I was recently assigned to the program and have Jackie here with me as a resource to answer any questions you may have. The Community Services and Parks Department developed the program in 2001 as a part of a mission to provide human services. The primary goals of the program are to identify at-risk youth and their families and to provide comprehensive intake, assessment, case management, and referrals to local agencies in an attempt to help solve family issues. The program operates from Pacific Community Center, located at 501 South Pacific Avenue, Monday through Friday. The program serves youth up to ages 17, parents, guardians, and siblings of these clients, and adults ages 18 to 21 who are typically foster youth, students enrolled in a GUS program who are trying to get their GED, young mothers in similar circumstances. The core areas of the program consist of information and referrals, case management, teen drop-in, life skills development workshops, and teen volunteers. Last year, 126 referrals came in. This is the breakdown of the ages and the residency status. This is the breakdown of the agencies we refer clients to when they call. As you can see, over half of the clients begin a program with our section for case management or volunteerism. Our program is a valuable resource to juvenile probation officers stationed at Glendale High. They typically call us in order to help find resources for the different youth and families. And that's a list of all the different agencies that we refer to. Most of the clients we serve stay with us to perform community service that is usually court-ordered or assigned by the juvenile probation officers through Glendale Unified School District, or apply to volunteer in our programs and participate in our Teen Night Out program. Families also contact us to help them with employment, getting back into school, counseling, anger management, legal assistance, and substance abuse problems. Staff completes an in-depth intake with all case managed clients through a needs assessment. With a thorough needs assessment, a development of a case plan, and appropriate referrals and follow-up. Last year, we served 17 clients with 4 clients that were high risk coming from the LA County Probation Program. The Assistant League of Los Angeles, along with GUSD probation officers and the LA County Probation Department, are our primary contact. The youth come in for various offenses ranging from categories in drugs, alcohol, traffic, assault, and tobacco. This is the fun aspect of the Youth and Family Services section. We provide recreational programming for kids, teens ages 13 to 17, who attend a local high school, youth groups. We also have been extending out to some of the private schools in the local area. Teen Night Out takes place every Friday from 5:30 to 9 at Pacific Community Center on every other Friday. This is an opportunity for the youth to socialize and engage in a fun and safe environment. Youth participate in board games, contests, soccer, tournaments, and education workshops. These photos are a few from our agencies who partner with us to provide education in the areas of health, finances, and college prep. We are very fortunate to work, these are our Teen Night Out topics. We've gone over some pretty trendy topics regarding social media, discussing how to get into college, what the pros and cons are of university versus community college, cyberbullying. One of the most popular attended events was the family traditions and values. That's what the photo is, where the kids were able to be creative and create a family crest. And they were able to discuss a little bit of their family history with the group. Our teen volunteer program is also a component to the program. We take this opportunity to place the kids that are looking for service hours to graduate. Typically, they have to work off about 100 hours before they graduate, and they come to us with that desire to serve their hours at our location. We tend to place them for special events or events that are taking place and programs taking place at Pacific Community Center. We are very fortunate to work with the following agencies. They have the confidence in us to refer their clients to us as we do to them. Anytime a person comes in that is looking for a specific need regarding mental health or drug abuse issues, or if they need help with anger management or youth employment, we have these agencies that we refer them to. For more information, please contact Jackie at 818-937-7243, or you can email her at jbalaton@glendaleca.gov. And I'm happy to take any questions if you have any.
This is a year-round program,
Yes.
right? So how many youth would you say we've serviced through our program
over this past year? Approximately 600 come in through the drop-in program, and then we have, let me get the numbers here, about 200 that come in for the educational workshops, 126 referrals that includes kids and their parents and family services, and approximately 17 to 20 case management clients come in.
So of the youth that come in through like case management, do we work with them to kind of assure them that they stay on track and they're doing and
So Jackie serves not only as a case manager to help with placement for their, to offer referrals to the different families based off of their need, but she also serves as a mentor to help keep them on track while they're working off their community service hours, which is typically for a ticket or some other infraction. Jackie also has a program that they go through that talks about like what they plan to do with their future. What do they want to do with their lives? Where are their goals for the next few years? What do they like about themselves? What they don't like about themselves? And we work with them based off of each individual to help them kind of grow through the hard years of teenage, 13 to 17.
So in addition to Jackie, how many do we have on staff?
She's it. She's our 24-hour employee, part-time, and I think Oleg wanted to.
Yeah, President, members of the commission, back in the day when we first started, when I first started in 2003, we had a supervisor and we had a full-time supervisor and 2 coordinators and 1 hourly employee. And due to, budget reductions and the economy, we only have 2 employees. We have a full-timer and an hourly. And I could proudly say that we're providing probably the same, even more services than we did back when we had a full-time staff 13 years ago. So they're doing an excellent job providing the same services and working with different nonprofits and different community groups. And we're all working together to provide the services for these teens.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Jackie, for wearing so many hats. Thank you, Norma.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Next on the agenda is 8D, Section Activity Reports. At 1 is Recreation and Community Services.
Hey, President Wu, members of the commission, one thing I would like to highlight for this month, for last month, is Glendale Cruise Night. The 2016 Cruise Night planning began in December of last year, 2015. We sent out 300 sponsorship packages to local businesses and community groups. We had employees from 6 different departments working and helping out as part of the Cruise Night Committee. And then in December, we also signed the entertainment contract with Brian Byrne, Mr. Rock and Roll, for entertainment marketing and promotion of the event. Cruise Night was held on July 16th between 5:30 and 10:30 on Brand between Milford and Broadway. The main stage, as previous years, was on Brand and Milford. And we basically closed Brand this year a little early at 8:30 to get everything set up. Our setup process this year was painless. Staff did a really good job setting up, thanks to Park Services, the police department, the fire department. We closed Brand in half an hour, and setup was completed by 1 p.m. Usually we complete our setup by 3. We were 2 hours early because we had more than enough resources helping us out setting up. We had 340 classic cars on display. Live entertainment was provided by Desperado, Surfin', and the Surfaris. One was a Beach Boys tribute, and we had our fireworks spectacular at 10:30. Pretty nice fireworks show. We heard a lot of oohs and ahs. The most important is our fiscal impact. Like I mentioned earlier, the event was fully funded by corporate and community sponsorships. We collected $47,900 in sponsorships. Car registration fees was $10,580, and $128,000 in in-kind sponsorships. Total cost was $44,922. In terms of in-kind sponsorships, that was from our media or newspapers. They provided free advertising for us. We had K-Earth work on some radio spots, ABC7, KCAL9, Toluca Lake, and all of our local media organizations that provided free advertising. Yes.
I'm sorry. We could go back to that
Sure.
slide. So 47.9, 10,580.
We made about $13,000 on profit.
Okay, so those 2 numbers added minus the total cost is what we yielded.
Yeah, about $13,000. And I should have highlighted the profit, but We try not to make money at this event. We would like to make money. It's not a fundraising event. It's an event to bring the community together, to help out the merchants. I was walking up and down Brand, and every merchant that was open was busy, from Starbucks to Damon's, from Johnny's Pizzeria. All the merchants up and down Brand were very busy, and we do it basically to bring the community together. It's a regional event. I've had people from San Diego, Orange County, Riverside County come to the event, call us, register their vehicles. So it's nice to make the money, about $13,000. Last year was around $7,000, but we like to do it for that community, that community feeling.
We doubled from last year.
We doubled from last year. Last year we also had the rain out, which cost about $2,800 for counseling, because I still had to pay some employees and some vendors. But even if we didn't rain out, we made more money this year, about a little over $13,000.
Separate account on this?
This goes in the cruise night account. It's general funded, so whatever we make goes back into the general fund, since the event is general funded. It's not an enterprise fund account.
Is import still on the radar to be expended?
I hope so. I know we had about 14 imports, 15 imports. I did bring it to the committee back in December, opening up to imports. They still want to keep that classic car show feeling, but eventually we would like to open it up for imports. A lot of people came up and says, "Oh, did you check out those Fast and Furious cars?" And so hopefully within the next few years we can have some imports.
I think those will imports will probably bring out the youth and the younger crowd.
Yes, that's our goal.
Okay, great, thank you.
And then, like I mentioned, our event sponsors are $1,500 and above sponsor. The first two, DGA, they gave $15,000 as a naming sponsor. Economic Development was a presented by sponsor. And we did reach out to Brand Boulevard of Cars, but they had asked us to reach out to individual dealers. So we went ahead and reached out. And from the dealers on Brand, we had Pacific, BMW, and Acura of Glendale donate $1,500 per dealer. We also had an auto broker that donate, Glendale Police Officers Association, Water and Power, Forest Lawn, Mobile Mini Wash, Disney, ABC7. ABC7 donated, and they also came in and did a live feed for the weather like they do every year. LA Credit Union, and then this year, In-N-Out came in, and they were really excited about the event. So In-N-Out's trying to bring in more customers to their restaurants, and I believe they'll be in next year also. And then we also had private groups like Rafi from John Hart Real Estate that set up right in front of his office and passed out goodie bags. This year what we did too is we had a vendor booth fee, which was $500, and this was really popular, and the following vendors came in for $500, passed out supplies, talked about or passed out information about their businesses and so on. This was a really this was a hit. So I believe hopefully next year the committee will also have a vendor booth fee, bring in more vendors, and that's how we made that extra, a few $1,000s because we had this vendor booth fee. And then our in-kind sponsors, we had the News Press, CV Weekly, Burbank Leader, Tolucan Times, Daily News. They all provided free advertising of the event. Portos and Carousel, they catered the VIP section, which was behind the backstage. Super King Markets gave us 800 bottles of water for staff in the VIP area. And then McGuire's gave us some waxing supplies for the goodie bags. Committee recommendations for next year. We would like to start marketing and social media campaign in March, and open 100 registration spots for car imports between 1980 and through 2005. That's still on our radar. So we would like to open it up to the imports for next year.
How about inviting some food trucks? Are we?
Food trucks, we've talked about last year when we rescheduled. The Kiwanis Club couldn't bring their food truck. because there was a scheduling conflict. So we did bring a food truck, Me So Hungry food truck, and they weren't as busy as the Kiwanis. We've noticed that the food trucks are pretty pricey, $10, $12, $13 a burger or a meal. Kiwanis, they're cheaper, and plus what they do is they collect the money and then give it back to the community, let it be a nonprofit or GOSD elementary schools or so on. Plus, we like to have the people, participants at the event spend their money at the local merchants.
Got it.
Yeah. Especially since DGA is the major sponsor plus economic development. Sure. We want to bring in the businesses to the merchants instead of having an outside vendor come in and provide the food.
So we're closing the street.
Yeah, we close the street, but if we have food trucks, they can come in before 1 o'clock. After 1 o'clock, the streets will be closed.
Okay. Great.
So if any of our viewers are interested in sponsoring Cruise Night, they can call 818-548-3248 for sponsorship opportunities. And next year's event will be held on July 15th, 2017.
Without rain?
Without rain.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, we have 8D2 Park Services.
Good afternoon, President Wu, members of the Commission. We'll report on the months of June and July. The Park Services staff completed 240 work orders in the month of June, and in the month of July, we completed 190 work orders. As we do every month, we have a couple of projects to highlight for you. The first was at Adams Square Mini Park. It was a replanting project along the northeast side of the facility, a planter bed that we had some bare areas we wanted to replant, as well as towards the front off of Adams. Some plants that had died out, and we cleaned out some of the larger shrubbery, wanted to plant some drought-tolerant landscaping in this area. And as usual, we identified the areas, laid out the plants, different species, had staff plant them. And the idea for this work was first week of July, I believe it was, there was the recognition of the gas station that received historical recognition in the state. And before that opening, we did this special planting for the area. It helped with the event. And staff once completed the 6 different areas of the landscape planting. We added the mulch. And here's a couple of the pictures for the final product. The next project, there were several smaller projects over at Brand Park. One was the entryway, the rose beds that off of Grandview Avenue leading to the library. And then we did some tree planting on the south side of the ball field. As annually, we do prune roses, and then the cleanup and deadheading of roses after the summer, when we get into the heat of the summer, gets conducted. It is a large area for flowers and roses, and they've done a good job of keeping them up this year. And after that project was finished, there were a couple of trees that were planted last year. Kids tend to play and yank them out of the ground. And in replenishing those trees, we identified a couple of pines to be planted south side of the ball field. And staff went back in and replanted trees so we can keep the consistency of our tree growth in the city. And there were 2 planted at this location. We annually plant probably over 100 trees for our Arbor Day program, and we supplement dead trees as we see fit or for special projects. So likely we plant about 150 trees or so in a given year across the city's parks. Also in Brand, but at the Doctor House area, if you recall, last time we talked about building a berm around the 2 trees, the redwood trees, and trying to supplement it with a lot of water and trying to resuscitate it and keep it alive. When we put a lot of water on there, as you can see, things grow a bit unnaturally, a lot faster as far as the grass goes. Staff decided it would be best if we remove the grass at the base of the tree and we plant the perimeter and then mulch the interior. So the berm we had built now is planted. It gives it a nicer overall look when they have weddings, and the flowers will be blooming in the next coming month. And this way, even though the trees are still struggling, we're trying to keep the landscape around the trees more vibrant with color, and for the reservations that get held in that area, be able to take those pictures for their weddings. It looks a lot nicer. Another project was at the Casa Adobe. Although I do not have a pre-picture to show you, this project was part of our attempt to reduce turf areas in the parks. The location is the caretaker's house located at Casa Adobe. So in front of the caretaker's house was turf, and we felt that it was not an area that was of any recreational use because it's secluded for the caretaker's use. We removed the turf and planted it with, the agave, very drop-tolerant landscaping, and DG'd the entire area. This will reduce our water consumption significantly at this facility because it was a large turf area. I wish I would have had a pre-picture to show you, but there is a significant difference in the pre and post at this location. Another project was at Cerritos Park. This was cleaning up of our palm trees, this was planning to start right beginning of June for the water play feature. We really don't want any hangers and any of the palm fronds to fall as the kids are playing. So we conducted cleanup of the palm fronds at this facility, which was the same time we were fixing the water play feature, the leak that we fixed. And after the trees were done, the base of the trees, we put some gravel, and afterwards we put some DG to give it a very fine, clean look for all of the palm trees at this location. Griffith Manor Park, well, this was we got hit severely with some graffiti at this location. We wanted to show you, as we always do. Every year, we do have certain high peak periods for graffiti and vandalism at our facilities, and this was one of those attempts that nothing was sacred, no trees, no benches, and we had to come in, at least on the screens here, we had to repaint the entire screen ourselves because we wouldn't be able to remove the graffiti. And then this is what the final product looks like after we went through it. And we try to pressure wash some of the areas that we can't paint. It looks a little better, but sometimes at the end of it all, somehow we do end up having to require to paint. This one, as I see the pictures, some of the remnants of it still looks like it's still back there. We might have to hit it with the pressure washer yet again. And these were the concrete benches, the sitting benches. We were able to successfully remove the graffiti from this area. And as we have increased activity at these facilities that we've talked in the past, we get in touch with our police department, and we work with them in doing either sting operations or putting more of a presence at the facility to let these vandals know we are watching, and then we'll be catching them in the act, hopefully. Commissioner, we currently do not have any security cameras at these facilities. We do have it, I believe, at the Maple Park Community Center. We have it at the Adult Recreation Center. We had the plans for Riverwalk in the Phase 1 area, and as you recall, that camera before it was activated was stolen. We've working and replenishing that camera, and there are plans for long-term solutions at multiple facilities for cameras. I believe City Manager's Office, City Attorney's Office, Police Department, IT, they're all working together and identifying a policy going forth on having security cameras in public parks. We'd love to see them, and we're working through some of those legal and challenging issues that we might have to deal with. That concludes our presentation for the last couple of months. August and September, as is typical, we work on ball field renovations. We are currently working on 5 ball field renovations this month, and we'll be reporting on those in the coming commission meetings. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Next item is 8D3, Trails and Open Space.
President Wu, members of the commission, in your packet you have the monthly activity report for Trails and Open Space program. If you have any questions, we'll be more than happy to answer. But in the month of July, we did have 4 Glendale outdoor programs. On July 9th, we presented a lecture and a hike on native bees of Southern California. On July 16th, we had a Riverwalk workday at the Glendale Narrows Riverwalk. July 23rd, we had a Duke Major Wilderness workday. And then on July 30th, we had an experimental forest event in the Verdugo Mountains.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is 8D4, Human Services.
Well, good afternoon, President Wu, members of the Commission. Last but not least, we do have a very quick Human Services report, and it's actually a correction that we have in our report. This is the time that CDBG unit begins its community needs assessment process, and where we go into the community and get feedback on what are the needs of the community in terms of its federal grant funds, CDBG, housing, homeless funds. And so we are in that stage now. There is a community meeting coming up on September 22nd. In your packet, it does say Mann Elementary School, but that meeting has changed to Pacific Community Center. We thought we'd get a good turnout in that area of Pacific Park with all the activities that are going on, especially in Pacific Park. You heard report and Youth and Family to get some feedback on the needs of the Southern Glendale area. So our meeting is coming up on September 22nd, Thursday at 7 p.m. It is a focus group format where we'll break out in small groups to get people's one-on-one attention to find out what those needs are. And then from that point, we begin developing the RFPs for our CDBG program, homeless programs, and begin the planning cycle again in the spring with council approvals and start the programs again in July 2017. So it does seem a long ways off, but it's a process that takes time to get that feedback from the community and, of course, from our commissions, from Parks and our CDBG Advisory Committee. So if there's any questions regarding this, I'm glad to help to answer any questions. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
We've reached the end of our meeting. Next is adjournment.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.